Hey everybody, welcome back. I wanted to kind of preface what I did today. I made a like a kind of a breakdown in one of my songs. It's a new song. It's not out yet. I don't. It may not even ever come out, but it's just like a breakdown how I kind of produce things. I'm kind of new to the production and everything, but it just explains my flow or my process and kind of like what makes up the sound that I kind of go for, I guess. It's cool. It's gonna start in a few seconds. All right, folks. I wanted to come in. It's me again, Raj. I have a project called Jane Holiday that I know I briefly talked about, and I thought it'd be cool to go through a session of mine that is something I made completely. A lot of times I work with other producers, um, and we kind of collaborate on all my songs. But throughout like quarantine, I started making a bunch of songs by myself and producing a bit more. I work in Logic. I used to use Ableton. I still do, but I feel like that's a little bit better sometimes for like making beats, and I feel like writing songs for me at least is easier in Logic. So I thought it'd be cool to go into one of my sessions, a song called Inhaler. That I don't. I mean, it may come out, it may not come out. I have no idea, but I thought it'd be interesting to go through them and see what kind of makes like the Jane Holiday sound or whatever, um, which is pretty much rooted in like '90s music, um, like trip hop and Brit pop, and then like '60s and '70s soul and disco, and even like a little modern hip hop. I'm pretty interested in also. Um, so this is kind of what my sessions look like. They're decent, organized, not always. This is probably a more organized session. I'm gonna take my mastering and kind of like mix support off. Actually, I'm gonna leave them on. I don't know if it'll affect the session much. But this is the song. Make sure you guys can hear me. Turn down a bit more. I think it's probably better, right? Yeah. Hey, check 1 2. That's better. Into the pre-chorus. I guess it's kind of a early pre because this is the original pre. It's kind of like drop chorus into a chorusy kind of thing. Oh, fuck off. So this song was inspired. There's this band called the DMAs, and I got inspired by the fact that like it's a song called "Life Is a Game of Changing" or something, and they in the chorus they take two like another vocal. I think it's the vocal from the verse, which in their song I think is the chorus, and it's kind of overlaid. And it sounds like it's like something I feel like I used to hear a lot in music, but I don't hear as much anymore. So I thought it was cool. Like, let's see. The weight of the world, but the deep on my shoulders. Right, and that's actually it's like the first line in the song. Shoulders. So I kind of use that as like a call and response thing in the chorus, which I think was kind of cool. But I believe this song when I started making it, it was with the drums. It's just a loop. Right? I mean, you see the audio file. That doesn't really describe anything. And I just put a decapitator and I compressed it, right? That's probably what I chopped it up. I forgot where I found it. I don't think it was Splice. It was one of these producer packs I think I got. And I always decapitate, like I love to decapitate my drums. I think it just sounds cool. Let's see what the settings were. So it's driven pretty hard, brightened it up a little bit, kind of use that as like an EQ. And I cut some of the highs out because that tambourine is kind of annoying. And I compressed all that, make it just sound fatter, and I took out some more of those highs. Excuse that. No way, it's gonna crash. There we go. Yeah, I chopped some more of those highs out because they're super annoying. You right? So somewhere over there. Let's see, what else we got going on here? Oh yeah. 90s like house bass line. I don't know what I did. Let's see. Just compress and EQ'd some of the highs out, make it more of like a bass, kind of a MIDI, like lower mids kind of thing. I'm not sure why that wasn't sidechained. I just used the Nicky Romero Kickstart. It's $15 to buy instead of sidechaining like to a kick. It's like a more of a pumping thing. I'm not sure I didn't have it sidechained, but let's keep it sidechained for now, or pumping rather. And then so vocals. What am I doing here? One layer.
And yeah, I said it all before, I don't like getting older.
Alright, cool.
I think I might be
Oh, yeah.
chemical reactor.
So, I use...
So I self-prescribe
Oh, fuck. It's in a different session. But that's just a vocal, go right SM7 into a Apollo Twin Duo, which doesn't sound great, to be honest, but it does the job for here. And I decapitate and compress. I'll put an EQ, just like... So I recorded the vocals in another session, that's why I don't have the chain here. But my general chain is I'll just pull up an EQ. Again, I'm not an engineer at all, but I'll do like a bright vocal because this mic, it needs a lot of gain. So even right now you can tell like my vocal is not that present, it doesn't sound that great. The audio here just running into like for the stream. But I'll do, a lot of times I'll do a pop vocal or a slammed vocal or a bright vocal. Let me get rid of that. And then I decapitate it, I'll compress it, like I'll run a bus, which I can explain what that is, or how I use it. Again, a lot of times I don't use things properly, I'm just kind of getting by, doing it to do it. Like using the tools just like by ear. How does it sound cool? Does it sound bright enough? Does it sound big enough? Is it thick enough? And I kind of decapitate everything in the chain. I'll have some decapitator and I'll bus it to a compressor. But this vocal specifically, I got into Microshift. It's a Soundtoys plugin that kind of like spreads. You can hear the vocal feel spread. Right? It's like it's a stereo.
And yeah, I said it all before, I don't like getting older.
I brought in another snare. Background vocals coming in left and right in the pre. Oh no, just I think it is panned in another session. And like I brought in another lead right here. It's kind of a 90s dance music thing. Get your numbers up. Strings and acoustic guitars, which I just record straight into this mic. don't know where those are. Right here. They don't sound great, but just a compressor. Sub bass, which I use the Arturia stuff, which is pretty good. Mini V Club sub is exactly what I use for sub. Oh, that's kind of cool. So it's like an old trip hop technique. You take your drum loop, and I just kind of fucked it up. Where were we? That's the bridge. Where? Oh no! I just dropped everything out, took out the extra snare, brought it back in for the second verse. Oh, cool! Yeah. For the core, oh yeah. Let's see, where are we here? Limiter, EQ and compression, pretty straightforward. I use the Portland kit. It's like a stock Logic drum thing, like a stock Logic drum, just like Tool or whatever, drum kit designer. I always use the Portland kit. Dampen the snare. I tune this one higher. Same kick. It just sounds cool. If you compress it pretty hard, it gets like real kind of Tame Impala. Yeah, I try to replicate. There's this it's a Shure. It's like the Tame Impala compressor, and it just compress your drums to shit. This isn't that hard, I guess. But the threshold's kind of that way. It makes it sound kind of airy. It's like a Fatboy Slim, bring in a bunch of percussion, bring in a bunch of drums, drop them out, and bring them all in again. Strings, acoustic guitar. Brought the drums back in. Shakers. What do I do with those? I'll spread them just for some imaging. That's under imaging, right? Bingo. Stereo spread. And I believe I bring it down a little bit so it's not super wide. Yeah, there you go. EQ. Oh, yeah, I cut all the lows out, even though, oh yeah, I guess there's a little bit there. A lot of times, because I use the same shaker, it's just in Apple Loops. I'm not going to open it because it always takes a second. I will cut some of the highs, like soften it a little bit. Brought the bass line in. Drums, the extra drums are back in. Boom. Right to the pre. I kind of cut off that first pre, or I guess, or right to the chorus, whatever you want to call it. Like a drop chorus-y kind of thing. So, I didn't bring in the call and response the first time, just so the song always feels like it's growing. And you already heard that one time before, but I kind of wanted it to always feel like it was growing. Brought that lead back in. Just a kind of a lead, or I kept that in the lead. For this vocal sound. Inhaler. I just rolled all the highs off, or all the lows out of it, and I crunched it up with the decapitator for that bridge vocal. Acoustic guitar and Mellotron. Classic Mellotron sound sidechained. Pick it up. So the kickstart again. Compressor and EQ. So that's the same. Remember, that's the vocal from the verse right there, right here. I mean, it's yeah, same vocal from the verse. I just chopped it up. This kind of is a way that it would work in Ableton also, where it's kind of a copy and paste arrangement. So it's a little more like, to me, it feels a little more free and creative. It's not so much like glued to the song. And when I was working in Ableton, that was a feature I really liked, or like in the workflow, I really liked that. So I kind of try to bring some of that back, because when I get into Logic, for whatever reason, I'm always like, nah, this is, I'm writing songs. And it always felt a little less creative. So I try to apply some of those same like ideologies, or like the same workflow or work style. And that's kind of where that whole call and response thing came from, which I really like. Oh, also, and there's something new again, like, I'm pretty new to producing and engineering and recording, but a big thing is, like, in the mixing process, from what I found, again, I'm pretty new to it, it's paying a lot of attention to where things all sit. So this vocal, the chorus vocal, is going to be really wide, and that vocal's out here, and this vocal's right in the center. Yeah, said it before, I don't like getting older. That's kind of real in here. That's all kind of wide and spread, just to make it feel like it's not all sitting on top of each other. Anything else I didn't go over really. So, in my string section, so this is in a different key too, actually. The dance basic lead, from what I remember, those notes are all minor. The strings are playing majority major. Yeah, which is kind of interesting. Actually, should I add in? Love Mellotron. Big. It's just like 60s. I mean, it's like everything dope has a Mellotron in it. That's a classic instrument, like an old Beatles thing. But I think it's just the flute. Flutes, maybe? Oh, violins. And boys choir. So it's pretty simple, pretty basic, but to me, it was important to be able to get, like, especially throughout quarantine, was to be able to do my own kind of demos, right? So I'll probably take this to someone that I work with and, put it into real shape. Oh, that's cool. Hold on. How do we do that? Oh, yeah. I love that. That's just a fade. T, A, fade tool. Draw out your fade, right? I'll do it here just so you guys can see. I think it's supposed to replicate like a vinyl stopping. And then I believe control, click, slow down. So, right, and it's pretty cool. And you can do it on this side too. Oh shit, that's CrossFit. You can do it on this side. Just move it this way. TT gets you back to the pointer. I mean, your regular cursor. TA gets you to your fade. Pull it up. And you can do it to speed up too, which is pretty cool. Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, and get rid of it. It's back to normal. Right, so that's another thing I do a lot. Kind of gets you that like choppy beat maker 90s kind of thing. You got to make like the loops interesting. So that's one of the tools. This is what I was trying to talk about earlier. It's an old trip, at least I got into it when I was looking up like trip hop tutorials. And you take one of your loops, right? like a section of your regular drum loop. So this is what I'm trying to talk about. It's you kind of create your own fill. And you know, I pulled a bunch of kicks out and I kind of arranged, like, let's see, I can just do one right now. And I do it kind of silly, actually. Let's just Command T cut. You know, do it on the grid, Command T cut, move it around. That's some other stuff I've cut before. But I literally will just move it around and then hear what it sounds like. That did not sound cool at all. But let's get it till it sounds cool. Command T cut. Put that there. I guarantee you there's a methodical way about doing this, but that's not the way I've decided to do it. Or I don't have a lot of patience. I just want it to sound cool really quickly. Let's just see. No, that was not cool. Absolutely not cool. That was cool. This section's cool, so we'll just go with this. Oh, nope. So sometimes you get lucky. Again, I told you this is a pretty. I guess I always wanted to be able to watch tutorials like this from this perspective because I'm just trying to make it sound cool and I want it to feel right. I don't know if any of this is, right as far as like the professional aspect or whatever. I mean, I doubt a lot of this could be used in finals. I mean, I bet it could be depending on how you want everything to sound. If it needs to be super hi-fi, but it's close. The idea is there. So, when I turn it into my managers and everything, because sometimes people, and I'm not saying that they can't, because they're actually pretty good. Their ears are pretty good. They can hear through all like the clutter or hear through like, none of the notes I get back are like, oh, the mix isn't right, because obviously the mix is not right. I'm not a mixer. I'm a songwriter and slowly becoming a producer, I guess. Not even, and I don't want to diminish any real producers, because I'm not a real producer. But the ideas are there. Like you can tell exactly what I'm going for here, which I'm excited about. So I'm also pretty basic. Even when I made this, it's about like earlier in the quarantine. I started applying like different techniques on my stereo out, which is the master, which is like, the kind of the print of everything that's going on in here gets routed to your stereo out, right? So I just bought the iZotope stuff I think I got it all for $50, like a bunch of the stuff that they had during Black Friday. It's a really good time to buy plugins. And I just add the Neutron, which is their like mix kind of, it's like a mix help. And I kind of throughout the session, like here, let me play just the chorus without anything. So, this is, as I said, this is the pre-so. Sounds alright, right? That's a little balance, a little body. I turn that Neutron on, which essentially what that does is that just kind of like nudges everything into place a bit, makes it a little more exciting and aggressive. And then Ozone, for you guys who don't know what that is, it's a mastering plugin, and that really brings in the excitement, right? So that's without it. So without it, just brings everything to life a bit more. Right? That's it, without it. A little aggression and a little shine, right? Sometimes it makes things sound harsh. Oh, you know what? Here's one tip that a lot of people don't do. That is, so I took a class a long time ago to get some information, like a couple years ago, and one of the biggest things I took out of it, right? So when you're looking at your metering, whatever track this is, it's in the red. Oh, it's my drums, which I know are running pretty hot. But all my faders, when you set, so in all your faders throughout, on every track, right? generally what Logic defaults to, which is a flaw. Um, that's pretty. It's a little peaky too. The bass. Generally, Logic will show you this whatever's coming through your fader here. This is your like your meter or whatever. It's normally set to your volume. So if things are too loud volume wise, but it doesn't ever show you your gain staging, right? So when I'm playing this bass sound, oh, this isn't on. That's on. When I'm playing that bass sound, it'll just show you how loud it is. Defaults to the volume. But you really want to set when you're mixing, so everything is. So when you turn on your like mix assistant, I use Neutron, and your mastering, which is I use Ozone. They're both isotope. You want all your tracks to at least be in like at a decent level. So when it brings in its support, because it does boost everything up, it doesn't boost everything into the red. So you want to keep an eye throughout your recording, which is something that I've kind of gotten new to as I started recording more. You want to make sure, especially a lot of your audio, I mean everything, is still, in like at the 0, getting into the yellow. And if you want some things to go into the red, like driven really hard, but then make sure that your volume's down. But Logic defaults to volume. It doesn't default to pre-fader metering, it's called. So make sure you always have this checked. So this is going to show you, when you have it checked, it'll show you your gain. So you can, I guess how to describe this? It'll show you your natural gain staging, not just the volume of what it is. Because sometimes the volume can be really low, but that's just because you buried the volume. But it's all your sound is being corrupted, distorted, digital distortion, which doesn't sound nearly as good as analog distortion. When it's set to volume, when it's set to pre-fader metering, you can really see where your gain's at. Again, all this information may or may not be 100% accurate, but it is what, some of the tips I'm kind of been using that I've just read about or YouTube, read on YouTube or listened to on YouTube. So, yeah, sounds sick. I'm pretty psyched on it. I don't know. Hopefully it comes out. Who knows if it will. But I hope there was some interesting things in here. Definitely panning. One last thing, panning in regards to your mix. You want to be cautious of like, sometimes things don't sound right, but if you just use a micro shifter with the Soundtoys, or if you just pan, using this guy, you'll get a whole new perspective or take on a sound. So that's definitely a big mix tip too. So, all right, I hope you guys got something out of this. Maybe I was just talking to myself, but till next time.